don't want to mix them up.
You won't, I'm closest to me. But until they start paying us.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, we got the light. All right.
Sometime at the end of the meeting, if somebody thinks of it, anybody who uses this room, please return it back to the way you found it. We had tables all over the place today. I thought she was gonna be up here dragging them into place to get your meeting going.
Who used it last?
They're your guests. This is your room. I wish you would just make that observation.
Who used it last?
All right.
Who?
Baseball, no, it's like the building is Saturday, Saturday.
Wouldn't have been baseball.
What time?
They did blood work Friday.
Oh, there was a blood drive here.
Blood work.
Yeah.
They had the blood drive.
Yeah.
That's right, I saw blood trucks out there.
If it was baseball, nobody invited me.
Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday, September 19th, 2023 Board of Selectmen's meeting. We are starting a couple minutes late. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Play ball.
We are three tonight temporarily. The other two selectmen will be here hopefully in a little bit. They're being detained over at the school.
Detained?
Detained.
They were arrested?
Yes. Yes, the teachers wanted to talk to them.
Jeez, we gotta know this stuff.
So we're going to rearrange the order of what we're going to be doing tonight so that they can be here on a couple of votes that will be taking place tonight. So we're going to start out with citizens' input. If anybody would like to come up and share and talk about anything.
Diane Moran, Juniper Lane. I wanted to talk about the ambulance that we're proposing to purchase. I want to make sure I understand what's going on here. So my first concern is that it's been mentioned that, we'll have an ambulance, we'll have it staffed, and I believe it's just during work hours, I guess. So the comment was made, I think in the last meeting, that, we'll always have an ambulance. So we are going to sign a contract, I believe, with Hampstead and Atkinson to co-share ambulances, is that correct?
It's a five-town.
5 towns, okay.
But it
Co-share type thing.
it's a consideration at the moment. There's no
Okay,
plan to sign
all
that.
right. So my concern was that someone mentioned that, you'll have an ambulance and it'll respond within, certain amount of time. My concern was being that we were giving people false hope, not false hope, but false sense of security, that supposing that ambulance is out on a call, you're not going to have an ambulance here. And that's fine, because that's what we have now. The concern that I present to you is that it was presented that we would always have a response. Somebody would be able to get to an ambulance in, X amount of time. So I want people to understand that that's not going to happen even with a new ambulance and signing this contract. Am I correct in that? That if one of ours is out, we'd have to get a response from a different town?
And that is correct, and that's
Okay.
exactly what's taken place today and what's been taking place for many years.
Exactly.
Is that it's called,
Mutual aid.
mutual aid.
Thank you. That's
So
what I was-
when our ambulance makes a response,
Yep.
and sometimes it's not, it could be not in town, but it's doing a mutual response, then another town that is nearby, if their ambulance is not in use and we have need of one in town, then that town responds with mutual aid to this town.
Okay,
And
that's
so-
that's the way I understood. I just want the public to understand that as well.
Right, and then with the other thing though, is the ambulance company, that runs 24/7, 365. So those 2 ambulances are always in service and also available. So if they're deployed somewhere, again, those other towns, where those ambulances are gonna be stationed, they now have their own ambulance in town that they can send out as mutual aid. So it's putting more ambulances in the whole spectrum to be able to cover all these emergencies that take place, especially later at night, so
Okay,
that it's not just during the day.
All right, that's fine. Like I said, that was more just to make everybody aware that, the ambulance doesn't just stay in Newton.
No.
That was it. My other was wondering about the old ambulance, the one that, is that going to be taken out of service? At one point, I heard it was going to be a backup to the current one. Do we have a plan on what we're gonna do with this old one?
Well, we're gonna discuss it because right now, we're not getting the new one till the middle of next year.
Well, oh, yeah,
And we cannot depend on mutual aid from all these towns during the course of that time without reciprocating with mutual aid and having an ambulance here.
yeah, I know that, but my question was, when we get the new one, what happens to the old one? We don't have a plan yet.
So I guess the way to best explain it is what we have going on right now. That ambulance is not currently in service.
Okay.
It's getting towed around to different garages to get estimates as to how much it would cost us to get it back on the road. Now, if we go, and I'm still using the word if we were to spend the pricey amount to have it fixed to get it back on the road, to me, that would be an investment in which we want to keep that investment on the road for as long as we can as a backup. Now, if for some reason, and I'm still using the word if we decide as a board the investment just to get that back on the road, it's like a car you would have at home, right?
Exactly.
If it's not worth it to put it back on the road, then we're going to have to do something different, or we might have to junk it, you know what I mean? There's a lot of options on the table, but I guess the reason I explain it that way is it's kind of the thing we always do here. We have to figure out what is the best investment of town funds, which I have to say this every meeting, we don't have a lot of
Yep.
right now. We're in
That's
a
right.
default budget, so.
So my thought process here was that if you were going to keep it as a backup, you want to make sure that it is fully equipped. So you're not going to be taking the radio out of the ambulance that's out of service and putting in your backup.
No.
So that would need to be, and I think you need to take that into account, that you've got radios, AEDs, you got Band-Aids, you got tourniquets, all of that stuff, and a power stretcher that was what, $3,000 plus? I mean, you could take that one out, but just be aware that, keep that in mind when you're making your decision, is that if you're going to keep this as a backup, you want it to be a turnkey backup. Turn it on, and it goes, and it's at the next place.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That stuff, that, as you know, you look familiar, you've been to meetings before, right? As you know, we always say that, right? When we're getting the new one, we say, hey, it's gonna save the town money because
Right.
we're gonna pull this stuff before we trade it in. So it's a good point.
So just be
Yeah.
aware, because this is, the other thing I think I heard at one point was, we're going to have 24/7 at the fire station coverage. So, and how would we do that? I mean, I know this is reaching out there, but just things that I want to just put in your mind is that we would have to do something with the fire station to bring it up to code where they can actually sleep in the mezzanine. So that should be factored in if you're going to do something like that, go 24/7 as a staff.
The
It's
thing
not-
I've been saying.
Not just salaries.
Right. The thing I've been saying for a while is anytime you change the way you do business, a sea change of the way you do business, you have to have a business case. And,
Yep.
and I mean, I know you don't really hear about business cases in a municipality, but what you're describing is exactly right. There's all these, you can call them hidden costs, right?
Yes.
Because we have a fire station that wasn't designed, like you just said, for 24/7. So there's costs involved there and all that other stuff. So me personally, I want to see all that before I approve the way we're going to go. And all of this stuff we're talking about, I think, should be printed in the town report the next time it comes out, so people understand what the deciding factors were,
Yeah.
you know?
Okay. That was basically it for the ambulance, and I'll wait on the other stuff. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Yes.
Diane, if you don't hear everything that you need to hear to be comfortable when we go through it tonight, can she come back to the podium at the?
No, she's done.
No,
Okay, all right.
that was it. That was
I'll
it.
talk to you afterwards.
Yeah, no.
That was it.
She knows better. She can come up anytime she
Matter of
wants.
fact, we might want to get a police escort. Get her out of here.
Hi, Marcella Vincent, 30 Thornell Road. I'd like to know exactly what is wrong with the current ambulance.
The motor,
The engine is gone,
It's,
blue.
Yes.
yeah, it's old.
and not the transmission is fine.
Let me tell you, when you turn the key,
Doesn't start.
did you hear what I said after that? Turn the key?
Nothing.
That's what happened.
Your starter isn't working.
It's a
And,
little more
it's
than a
also
start.
the, 2 weeks ago in the meeting, if you go back to that video, the deputy chief, I think he spent like 10 minutes, he was talking
Yeah.
about it all. So if you feel like it, I don't like to relive these meetings myself, but if you went back, you could hear that part. But that was a joke, by the way.
Good evening.
I love these meetings.
Is it proper to ask a
We
question?
know you.
Yeah, once in a while. Can I ask a question about the code of ethics?
Hi,
Is that,
Jack.
is that proper at this time?
Hi, Jack.
Hi, Bob.
Don't say that.
The financial interest disclosure,
Yes.
and it says, 30 days you have to do a financial disclosure with somebody, a financial interest. What is the financial interest?
So if there's a URL that you
Yep.
click on in there,
Okay,
it's modeled after the RSA 15A
Right,
or something
whatever,
like
yes,
that.
yeah.
And that
RSA
explains
31, yeah.
financial interests.
Okay.
Yeah.
so that's it. So you'd have to have some financial interest what you're voting on. Is that how I read it?
Yes.
So in other words, you would have to be basically a selectman approving
Right.
contracts and whatnot. And if you're a selectman and a contract was getting approved
Yeah.
and you were going to benefit from
Yeah.
that contract,
Okay.
a certain amount of money,
I'm with you.
then you would have to fully disclose that amount of money that you are going to be receiving and making off of the town.
Okay, that's a great explanation.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
No.
No.
No. We
Just a
wanna have
quick to
5.
answer that one
But
quick
if
question.
you have a question, you can ask it, but I don't know if you want to wait for a 5-person response,
Mr. Chairman, if I may, and I don't know if this will put anybody at ease or not, I've been filling out that 15A form for 25 years. When I was appointed to the New Hampshire Public Employees Labor Relations Board by Governor Benson, that's when I had to still fill out that form. I have no financial interest in anything other than my wife works in education, and that's one of the box that you could check off, meaning I could not weigh in as a member of the labor board on any issues related to education, specifically the Nashua School District where my wife is employed. That's it. And I'm done.
Oh, you did it, Jim.
And-
I've had to
yeah.
add the retirement system
Right.
since I left.
And that would be the other thing, like I was saying. So if you were a selectman and that contract came up, you would have to exclude yourself
Jack.
from voting on that contract.
There's the form, it's up on the screen.
Yeah.
Right.
The key, Bob uses the word exclude. I wouldn't use the word exclude. I use the word disclose, right? It's a smart business decision, I think, to exclude yourself from the vote.
No, you're
But-
supposed to by
but-
law.
Well, the thing is, the main thing is that we're disclosing so people know, right? People know, because if you're in a certain business that we're trying to do business with, that can change your financial interest, whether we do something or not with that business.
Right.
So,
And the biggest thing was, like, when this came up on the warrant, and we'll talk about this again later, and then hopefully we can move on, is this has absolutely nothing to do with anybody's personal 401ks, their savings accounts, their checking accounts, or any of that. It's just what pertains to money that comes from the town and goes towards their business. And that's it. Like the road agent now, he discloses what goes because he gets rent money for his equipment. So that he openly discloses that. And that's The only thing he needs to disclose is
Well,
that
he's-
money that's made through that.
Not under our policy, though.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
I think he does that because he prefers
Right.
to. Yep.
So, and that's what we're talking about. But other than that, Mike wouldn't have to disclose anything because he doesn't sign or the contracts. He comes to us and we're the ones that approve it. And it would be the same thing, the firehouse, the police department, any other departments, right?
I mean,
Where you work, Jack, right? The transfer station, it's the same thing. Peter's got to come to us when it comes to big ticket items, so he's taken off the hook.
Thank you.
And I think some people get nervous when you hear financial disclosure and they think, oh, you know, it's not.
I did not know.
Right, but it's not how much money you have in Bank of America. It's not how many stocks you have. That's not. It's the interest you have.
I
Yeah.
wasn't sure would
Yeah.
it affect somebody that wants to run for selectmen and he reads that and says, gee, how does that affect me? I
Yeah.
understand this.
Yeah.
And that's why we turned around and we posted the form, so that if you look, it doesn't ask for any of that information. It's direct and to the point, to what it's looking for.
Thank you.
Jim's
In
got-
fact, Mr. Chairman, the statute says in excess of $10,000, whether you've received anything from a particular company that's going to do business with you or you're going to have an involvement in.
Right.
I think our policy's threshold is 5,000. So we're even a little bit more strict than the state statute.
Yeah. And I believe before Diane, we're using this as a model because it's a best practice, but this was, 15A was passed by the House to use in the Senate, right? Both of them.
Right.
To use, so theirs is a statute, we're using it as a best practice, you know?
Yes?
So I was just curious how we're doing with some of the open positions, like financial director / human resource, the town administrator, and I evidently now a health officer and animal control officer. So do you have any updates on, I know the animal control officer has just been announced in the building permit, but what about the big three? I mean, well, the big two anyways. How are we doing with that? Any progress or?
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that.
I mean, it's worth it just 2 minutes of repeating, just for those who have missed it, is Municipal Resource Incorporated is like a is a consultant group, a recruitment agency that probably handles almost everything in New Hampshire. So if you ever go to the MRI website, you can Google, if you're watching at home, Google it right now. They have a ton of positions open. It's a long list. Every town is going through this. And and I think patience is a virtue in this case because we want to get the right skill set. You know, there are some positions you can be on-the-job training for, but in order to have on-the-job training, you normally have to have somebody senior to do that training. And we're looking for the right candidates against a very tough market. So patience, I guess, is the thing. Was Diana applying for any of those positions, Jim? It sounded like she was interested.
She was disqualified.
Did you say you had your resume on you? I was wondering why that might be the question.
It sounded like she had interest.
Mr. Chairman, if I may?
Yes.
To that particular position, we've had 3 applicants through MRI to date. Of the 3, MRI only forwarded 1 for my review and maybe board's consideration. We're just not getting anybody that has municipal experience. And it's a very learned business, if you will. So if you're an accountant or a CPA, that doesn't do you any good in a town or a municipality or a city, quite frankly. I've reviewed the resume of the one person they sent to me. She has no municipal experience, but university experience, and there might be enough to cross over for consideration. But a pool of 3 on an ad that's been up for more than a month is not a sign of being hopeful, unfortunately. We have posted the permit clerk's vacancy, and well, we'll get to the other one, the animal control officer.
Yeah.
Chief Jewett will have a recommendation at your next meeting of someone that he wants to take the place of the animal control officer.
And did I mention that we don't have money we don't have money, so we're competing in a market where the salaries are going like that, so.
So with that being said, we're going to go into resignations. And Paula Brown was working for our department, and she wrote, "Hi Sam, sorry to have to tell you this. I am resigning from this position. My last day will be September 13th, 2023. September 7th, 2023 will be here 2 years, and as you know, I asked for a raise twice. I enjoyed working here and been with you, but need to move on. Thank you, Paula Brown." So,
I move to accept the resignation of permit clerk Paula Brown with thanks and gratitude.
So moved.
and there's only the three of us here, so we can just, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
But by way of background, Mr. Chairman, if I may,
yes.
Paula has gone on to another community, doing the same work for the same number of hours, for 25% more money than she's making here.
There you go.
Next would be Mr. Michael Dorman. Regret to inform you that I must give you my 60-day notice. At this time, I am retired and have a handicapped wife. I am currently have a similar position in 2 other towns. When I was hired by Newton, I explained to Robin and you that it was temporary, so I'm hoping that you can find a replacement soon. That said, effective November 1st, I will be done, but will help out in an emergency. Please copy Robin. I will call her Tuesday. Thank you for your understanding. Mike Dorman.
I move to accept the resignation of Interim Health Officer Mike Dorman effective November 1st of 2023 with our thanks and gratitude.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Joe. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And this is the resignation.
Bob, could you mention what they do for the town, or did do for the town? Thank you.
Yep. This is for the animal control officer that resigned.
Jack, are you saying go into more detail about what they?
No, just want to know what position they held in town.
Oh, okay.
Interim
Well,
health
Matt
officer.
was when he was saying,
Yeah.
making the motion.
Interim Health Officer. I said
Interim
during
health
the motion.
officer.
Is that good? Yeah, good.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, so animal control officer, please accept this email as my resignation from my position as animal control officer effective 8/5/2023. It's been a pleasure working with you and all the officers and staff of the police department. Thank you and take care. Kathy Druin.
I move to accept the resignation of Animal Control Officer Kathy Druin effective August 5th, 2023 with our thanks and gratitude.
So moved.
By Joe, all in favor?
Aye.
So Paula Brown was the one for the building office, building department. That and code enforcement, she did both of them are for the one, all right? We're gonna skip over for right now, the ambulance contract and the ambulance repair because our other 2 selectmen would like to be able to be here for that. Trish, could you please come up and give us your updates? Thank you.
Okay, the ARPA work group, which is the American Recovery Plan Act, has not met since your last meeting, so I really have nothing to report regarding that. Our EOC update. As you know, Hurricane Lee hit us last weekend. The Emergency Operating Center was on standby for our residents. Very few trees came down, and most electric service stayed operating. We had a couple of instances where we had to call Unitil. We did have trees on limbs and homes without power. That even happened last night. We had Packet Meadows was completely without power, and thanks to the fire department and the road agent and our foreman for the road crew, that all got taken care of. I notified, or actually the road agent notified Unitil, and it was up and running in about almost 2 hours, which is a concern over there. I was getting ready to go start the generator because we do have people that have medical equipment that needs electricity. But so far, that was great. Also, for those people in TV land and, you know, the 2 people on remote and the 3 people here, you all know it, but for everyone else, if you did not receive the 911 reverse alert that we sent out, thanks to the Board of Selectmen and the Town Administrator and Emergency Management, letting you know what's going on, it wasn't as crucial this time, but when we start getting weather-related events and it's freezing and we've got, God help us, snow on the ground and maybe no power for a while, it's really important that you have access to receiving these alerts. You can actually, if you haven't signed up for it, if you didn't get our call on Thursday, you can sign up for it. We have forms at the transfer station. We have forms here at Town Hall. And if you go to the town website on the home emergency management page, top left of the page, we've got the form you can fill out right there. Everything you say is completely confidential, but it will guarantee you being notified if all of a sudden we've got something going on. For instance, when it was really bad in the ice storm, I was able to do the alerts, and we were able to let people know that we had rations because we had 12 days without power. We delivered water, we delivered rations, we checked people's generators to make sure they weren't under a window or a dryer vent. So it's really important to have access to what the town offers you. And thank you, Board of Selectmen. Every year you approve the alert, reverse 911, and it's really crucial for us to keep going in bad weather. When you fill out the form, I just wanted to say it asks for your email. We really only need your phone number, so you can put a line through it. If you want to give an email, fine. Maybe someday our technology will be that you want an email. I don't know about you. I get too many emails. I'd rather just a voicemail. That's just me. Number 2, COVID is still here. In the last few weeks, we've had quite a few outbreaks here in town. It's been in certain areas. You need to pay attention to how you feel. It's not going away, and of course now we have flu season upon us. So please, if you don't feel well, stay away from everyone. And if you have COVID, if you've been diagnosed with COVID, stay home, and you really should keep yourself with a mask on when you're around your family members or in a separate room. I mean, many of us have man caves. Get out there. No, only kidding. I also, number 3, I've completed another emergency operating grant. It was just approved yesterday for $37,026, and we should be getting that check shortly. But that's another good thing. Every time we can get money, it offsets some of our expenses when we have to operate. We are now, number 4, we're now getting into our Seabrook drill cycle. Many of you here sitting at this table have participated. I have a meeting tomorrow to inform us. It's an all-day meeting of what's going on. They've given us a lot of new standards. These drills are important to us because they actually give us money for participating successfully in the Seabrook drills. We have to pass the drills. I have to do quarterly reports that are accepted. We have to do monthly inventory, quarterly assessments, and I have to participate in all calls and meetings. If that happens, we get money. So far, their money pays for anything the Emergency Operating Center and Seabrook needs, for instance, our radios. Our telephone line is actually paid for by Seabrook. So it's really great that we do this. And for those of you that haven't participated, if you want to participate, I've got the dates. Let me know. That's it for EOC. Conservation, just a quick update. You've heard me talk about this. The bush farm has finally been completed with our first phase of mowing, trimming, and tree cutting. And we've scheduled a site walk to determine now the next steps that we have to do. We have signs in places that look a little weird now since there's no vegetation there. It's like, who put this sign in the middle of this field? So we're going to work on that. We ask the public, if you happen to be on any of our conservation land, please let us know if you notice trees down, limbs down. I had somebody over the weekend that was really great. She let me know about a couple of trees that had come down. Another widowmaker was hanging there, and some of it, we were able to take care of it, some of it not. But please email at conservation@newtonnh.net, and we will absolutely take care of it. And that's it.
Thanks, Trish.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Chairman, you want to jump to manifests until Mr.
Yeah, I was
Mr.
just
Bragg
looking
comes?
at that. Joe, you want to go down the list with the manifest, please?
I move to approve a withdrawal in the amount of $1,555.74 from the police special detail account dated September 12th, 2023, to pay for an invoice for fuel to Wex Bank.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Matt. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's unanimous.
I move to approve the vendor manifest in the amount of $22,360 dated September 12th, 2023, to pay for an invoice to Eastern Seaboard Concrete Construction.
Second. Seconded by Mike. All in favor?
Aye.
I move to approve the vendor manifest in the amount of $1,500 dated September 12th, 2023, to pay for an invoice to KMA Tree Services.
Second. Seconded by Mike. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
I move to approve vendor manifest in the amount of $113,932.97 with a pay date of September 12th, 2023.
Second.
Seconded by Matt. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
I move to approve payroll manifest in the amount of $57,037 for pay period August 27th through September 9th, 2023, with a pay date of September 14th, 2023. This manifest includes $72.35 in ARPA administrative costs.
Second.
Seconded by Matt. All in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. You're on a roll. Might as well do the minutes, Joe.
I move to approve and accept public meeting minutes dated September 5th, 2023 as written.
Second.
Seconded by Matt. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I move to approve and accept the non-public meetings dated September 5th, 2023 as written.
Second. Seconded by Mike. All in favor? Aye.
I move to approve and accept the non-public meeting minutes dated September 12, 2023 as written.
Second. Seconded by Mike. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That concludes the minutes. Manifest.
Yep. So at this point, it looks like we're going to have to go into discussion on some of these things.
Can we do,
Mr. Chairman, could I ask for a 5-minute recess?
Sure.
Thank you.
We're going to take a 5-minute recess.
can we go to a commercial? Or is,
Commercial break? Yeah. Should be.
Hello? Hello? Testing.
sponsorships that you want, like, you know, Michael Jordan type things. Hi, this is Mike Conley.
Testing. Says it's on.
No, that's okay. No, I didn't get one, so
Is that the
I
one
never sent it out. I always post.
I heard Dina talking about it this weekend?
this is okay, that's all.
Yeah. Diane, did you send out the agenda or did you just post it? Send it again? Did you send out the agenda or did you just post it? Oh, wait.
Is she brand new?
Was it emailed to you at one point?
Is this functioning? Says it's on. Let's make sure it's on. Hello? Testing.
Yeah, they're on.
It is.
You guys have for a recess, right?
Okay. Okay. Sounds good.
Just let me know when you guys are.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Sounds good.
I was Fonzie.
the GJ, and you had the buttons, like of every band you went. I used to love those.
No, I never got into the band thing.
You didn't get the buttons?
No, I didn't get the buttons.
Did you want?
No, just stand it up. Just stand it up.
I was thinking that.
It's off right now. He has them off right now.
I'm always mic'd up, but you have a target in my sleeve.
But we do want to,
I'm an informant.
An informant.
we're talking to these guys, not to exceed on the ambulance repair.
Could we do that in lieu of meeting
Coming
next week
back next
once
week,
you
of
have all the?
Did you get any response?
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, so if you guys do that, the way to keep it expeditious is to end the motion with allowing you to sign on behalf of the board
Correct.
the lowest quote.
Yeah.
Then you guys don't have to convene.
Lowest quote without exceeding a certain dollar amount,
Yeah.
town administrator,
And we're at 26 and a half, so you should probably do 27.
27,
And
we said.
hopefully the second quote, you will get it soon.
Lower. Yeah.
A lot lower than that. It had to be towed from McFarland to wherever the location is. And I think it's somewhere local or in Blastown. It's Mike Provero's mechanic that does all his trucks.
I was talking with Mike, and Mike said he's pretty sure that they can do it for a lot cheaper money.
They will do the not to exceed. I'm traveling
If
next
you're
week.
comfortable to do that, I know I'm throwing you a curveball by saying I'm going to kind of municipal sign on behalf of the board. You also have the chairman sign on behalf of the board. That's fine with me.
Yep.
I'm just trying to reduce the weight.
Let me ask this though: where's this money coming out of? Is it coming out of the maintenance line item? Do we have enough money in the maintenance line item?
Well, told by Deputy King that, and by the way, I sent him the budget so that he has it, so he can speak intelligently. He responded to me that he has sufficient funds in his budget, operating budget, default operating budget,
Yeah.
to repair.
So that's the good news, because all that stuff we're gonna use on our new ambulance, we don't have to dip in.
Right, yeah.
You can stay. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you guys recall or not, but Chief Alvedino said that Greenwood, out of North Attleboro, was the only one who responded to him that included in their price removing all of the equipment from the
And
old.
moving it over.
They're moving over, yeah.
So we're gonna have an empty ambulance that, as it's currently outfitted, I guess.
It's a shell.
It will not be a second banana.
No, but it's only a transporter, right? It can be used as a transporter.
Not if the
Not if you. Well, they have the old gurney they can use.
Matt was saying, we can always review that at that time because they still gotta put it together to where what funds and how much it costs to just put shit in it.
Do you know which one is Dan Guide?
I'll tell you in a second.
Pennywise.
The only one I have in my contacts.
Rather than taking stuff that came over in the Mayflower and putting it in a rocket ship.
Yeah, the main thing is, can we,
Absorb?
yeah, because we're always doing that because we're dealing with a shoestring budget, so
Just
it's like
remember
we have to trade in because we need that.
Right.
You know, but if
Yeah,
we
teacher
could,
conferences today?
because I don't think we're going
Yeah, and there's one.
to zero out,
Oh, you were telling me who's a.
No, she's
with,
No, the four sources.
yeah.
No,
never
they
seen
roll over year to year.
Really?
No, but what I mean is, if we, whatever we need to buy,
Yeah.
in Pennsylvania.
No kidding. Oh, wow.
This being called back and figure out.
so we would have money to turn around to whoever it is, you know.
Oh my God. Is
Acme
that bad?
Yeah, I gotta
ambulance
tell you,
and
right?
say,
Yeah. What grade is this?
"I want it outfitted."
Fifth grade.
That's gonna up the cost if it's outfitted, and we just, like you're saying, if you're gonna do it, I mean, if we're gonna invest all this money now,
Yeah.
we wanna,
There's technology now, but I don't even know if Exeter Hospital can do this, but there's technology now that if they suspect that you're in cardiac arrest, when they wire you up, it reads the ambulance and sends it to the
Oh
ER.
yeah, they've had that for a little while.
Yeah, I mean, so but maybe something's even more advanced than that.
It could be.
you take my phone.
Yeah, come on. Nobody saw it. Not on TV. TV's still on.
1 million people just witnessed it.
We wish.
1 million, it's 8 million.
Millions and millions in TV land.
Chairman, I propose we have a water cooler and put it right over there. So that they can gavel on it.
No, thanks, I bring my own.
There you go. Did he answer? Yeah, I mean, Mike? Did Dan answer?
Bob said,
Wait, I just sent it to him.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure it was in my mind correctly. I wasn't sure it was in the right number.
I'll tell him if he doesn't bring my tire cord, not to bother coming.
He was the one that was telling us that they hire people over there, like new hires at his tire place, and they work in the morning and they go to lunch and they never come back.
Yeah, they never,
You know,
well, they'll go for coffee break and never
That's
come back.
work, you know.
exactly.
That
so,
is work.
So maybe that's what Dan's doing. Show up for a couple of meetings and then never come back again. I don't know.
We're all blinking. Oh, mine's not even on. Oh, there it is. It's blinking.
So,
We're all blinking, I think.
yeah, you do.
It's technology.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take this off of me.
Its battery seems really low.
I had to do the whole thing with my smoke detectors. I went around and they changed.
What are the meeting dates not hold back?
Yep.
Third and
Does that indicate a low battery on that thing?
The electrician.
That should be
17th.
It'll,
All right, I'll be here.
down one more bar.
So next week I can
Yeah.
So he's like, I can redo the main ones or just do the. I'm like, just do all of them because I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm sick of the chirping.
Yeah, I know. I went out and I just bought, I had the hardwired, I put in just battery operated ones.
It's
crazy.
The hardwired is, in theory, is like it's good, but here it is.
The smoke alarms?
There he is.
Smoke detection, but
Let's
then
cue
you
it
need
up.
an electrician to do stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have to upgrade all
recess.
mine.
We took a recess.
Like over 15 years
For you.
old. They're still
We love
working,
you.
but
That's why.
We heard you got detention.
hi, bud.
Have a seat. Everything except for ambulance contract, repair, engine one repair.
RFPs, yeah, we
Then we
did
gotta
that.
go over the RFPSs for the household hazardous waste and ground maintenance. And then non-public we're going into, yeah. In the code of ethics.
You want to bring it back?
On the time of the recess?
What's that?
You want to bring us back out of recess?
Yeah, we'd have let
Then
him know.
obviously
Yep.
come back into session.
All right,
Come out of recess into the meeting.
yep, we're coming out of recess and back into meeting
Is
at
he good on the?
6:46.
You all set? Thank you. Oh,
All right, so next point of order will be the ambulance contract. Would you like to start us off with that, please?
thank you,
Jim?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board. And Mr. Chairman, you've been to one more meeting than I have, so if I miss anything,
Yeah.
please feel free to fill in the blanks. So more than a year ago, 6 communities formed a consortium to continue the service that they were previously engaged in, which was, I believe, hold on, Hampstead, Newton, Sandown, Atkinson, Danville, and Plastow. Plastow has since dropped out of the consortium and decided to provide ambulance service to that community on their own. That left 5 of us. In the last series of meetings, most recently last Thursday, the group interviewed 2 ambulance companies who responded to the RFP that Mr. Chairman requested that they do as part of due diligence. 2 responses were provided, one from Cataldo, I believe out of Somerville, Massachusetts, and the other was Pride Star Trinity. At the last meeting, the consensus was that Pride Star Trinity is the best bang for the 5 communities' bucks. And I should preface this by saying, there's no clear winner in this because of our population disparities and the number of calls. So, for example, Newton, the least populated community in the consortium, is paying the same as Hampstead because there was an even division of the amount of money that Pride Star wanted. When the issue was raised, should we do calls and population, the response was Hampstead's price would go up so high that they were pennies from doing it themselves for that cost. So as a group, everybody kind of pitched in and made some certain concessions to keep it at 5 towns because then we're dividing that amount that they want by the 5 communities. I received an email yesterday from Mr. Apple, I believe he's the Atkinson Town Administrator, indicating that Pride Star has revised their proposal and that has brought the amount down to $130,000 for each of the 5 remaining communities. And I believe it's effective March 1st. Currently, that's the only option on the table that I believe the board has available to them.
And that's actually down $12,000 from the last time that we were looking at
Right.
that same said contract. But we've received clarifications about some of the issues that we had concerns with.
And I would point out that this is a 1-year agreement that has 2 one-year renewable clauses in it. So I think technically you would be legally bound to a full year beginning March 1st of 2024. Obviously that allows time for us to get our ambulance in-house and moving in that direction. I don't believe professionally, and I hope you agree with me, Mr. Chairman, that we have very much choice at this point in time, but to continue working with the consortium and hoping that revenues gained by third-party payments for services rendered will further reduce the costs we have to pay in subsequent years. So I'm afraid that's the only thing that we have on the table right now.
Right, because they did say they're not going to lower the cost this year depending on revenues. They said because costs will arise, but according to whatever revenues come in will reflect how much they need to go up if we stay with them for the next couple of years. And again, that is not an automatic renewal. We still have to say yes, but it's built into the contract. So at this point, like we were talking about earlier in the program when we were asked about the ambulance service, it's only beneficial for the town residents. We do have a lot of elderly here with the calls, the people that need to get taken to the hospital and stuff like that, especially later at night because we don't have a 24-hour service, and that's where these other couple of ambulances come into effect. If there's a late night, God forbid it happens, the people drinking, whatever, get into an accident like what took place in Plastow just this past weekend, and whatever needs to be done. This is kind of our security blanket, as it was, and it allows us 5 towns to accommodate each other a little bit easier with the mutual aid because we have those 2 additional. And also they did say, because they have a place in Haverhill, that if need be and if it was available, that they also have what's called a fly car that would be able to be produced and help assist in any manner that would be available. And that was one of the other things that we talked about. So as far as I'm concerned, from all the talks that we've had, discussions, the contracts we looked at, I think this is definitely the most viable, and I strongly suggest myself that we take this contract and approve it.
In terms of paying, is it like paying a mortgage or is it a lump sum? What's the?
No, it's broken out. It was in the contract. It
2
was
payments, I believe it was.
4? 2.
4.
4 payments.
4 payments, okay.
Yeah, it's not a lump sum. It's 4 payments.
Bill quarterly.
Quarterly.
Yep.
And it doesn't start until March.
Right.
So
And again, there's a consideration for the '24 budget. Obviously, do you want a warrant article asking for the funds? Or do you want to include it in the operating budget, which in my opinion shows the importance of it?
Sure.
And rather than leaving it to the decision of the community, which under normal circumstances is a good idea, but your first priority is public safety of the people in this community, the businesses, and the visitors.
Yes.
And secondly is to be prudent with the tax dollars. And so in keeping that order, my recommendation would be to go forward.
Put it in the budget. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I mean, the way I'm leaning right now is, we're going to have to absorb this with the default budget, right? Or, well, actually, excuse me. We're going to have to put it in the proposed budget, right? And then hopefully that if we go to another default budget, that we can absorb it in another default budget. But at the same time, I think
It's a contracted
independent-
service. It would be.
Oh, yeah, what am I talking about?
It would
Yeah,
be
thank you.
included in the
Yeah,
default. It wouldn't
it's
matter.
contract, it's in the default.
Yeah.
Scratch the last 60 seconds
Rewind.
of what I said. But independent of that, I think we should have a warrant article opening a revolving account to support what we're kind of envisioning about going our own way. In
Yeah,
terms
if the
of,
town supports it, absolutely.
exactly, and then the town can, on another warrant article, the town can vote to fund that revolving account.
Absolutely.
And then as we get the revenues back a year later from insurance, that can go into that revolving account. But it's got to be out there for people to see. But this is definitely the security blanket, especially in the sense that we don't have much choice, really.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I think the upcoming budget cycle, we're going to make a concerted effort to give the community as much information on what the needs are associated with what we're asking for tax dollars in the form of our operating budget. I think through public meetings, perhaps flyers, notices. People are uncomfortable voting in favor of something they're not clear of. However, with that being said, we have an obligation to take a step in that direction too, and that will be my intention for the next budget cycle.
Yeah.
I'm personally against putting in the operating budget. If the school, which I understand is going to go up next year, so that budget will increase anyway, I think a warrant article will be sold. I think you'd have a couple of public meetings on it, because it's pretty damn critical. And if it doesn't pass in the operating budget, I don't know. That's my personal feeling. I'd rather see a warrant article.
Jack, it will appear in the default because it's a commitment made.
Okay, it
So-
does.
so
Okay.
That takes care of that concern.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks.
And as far as the school budget goes, since I'm probably the only person at this table that can discuss this, we are not even close to being there yet. There are no numbers out there. So whoever you heard that said that the school budget was going up,
There's been increases the last couple of years.
no, last year there was no increase. So, yeah, so we'll see. There was very minimal increase last year. And like I said, there's nothing out there yet. Like, I haven't even seen the budget yet. So I can't say that it's going to go up. I doubt it, but
Well, there's a 3-year contract with the teacher.
that's a separate warrant article.
That warrant article was done a couple of years ago.
Right. It's every 3 years the teacher's contract is up. The teacher's contract will increase the budget.
But I will say, discussing what we can control in this room,
Exactly.
it's not looking good for us, right? I mean, it's like we are in a default budget. I heard on the news this morning, they're like, oh, great, inflation is going down. It's like, well, we don't go back to the prices we had before the inflation. So we're still the same problems we had back in March. We're probably still going to have those problems in March of '24. So that's, but like I think, Jack, what Jim said is absolutely right, and I was forgetting a few moments ago, is once we sign the contract, it calculates into what the default is. So.
Anybody want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll move to award the ambulance contract to Pride Star Trinity EMS out of Lowell, Mass. The term is a one-year contract with 2 one-year renewal options beginning March 2024, and the first year will not exceed $135,000.
And we have a harder number now, which is 130.
I'm just going to leave it at my motion.
Right.
It's
So,
fine.
I'll accept, I'll accept the motion for discussion.
Second.
Along with the email that we
Second-
received
second
regarding the
motion for
reduced price, there was an indication that we had a revised contract. All the terms were the same,
Yeah.
but I did notice a typo on the last page, so I made the consortium aware of it. They're going to have to make that change, and so as a result, your vote is very much appreciated by the other communities who are probably watching us tonight. However, the hard contract will not be ready till your next meeting, but we know the position of the board representing the town of
yeah.
Newton.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The concern I have, should we put in there
It
that
was seconded by Joe. Go ahead.
the concern I have is, should there be something put in there that $135,000 is a quarterly payment?
No, it's not
It's
135
already,
a quarter.
it's already answered in the contract, Joe.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine.
It's written in the contract.
Do you, so I have a question. If that contract will not be ready till the next meeting, should we, part of our... Oh, sorry, is it not on?
I'm on.
We have the contract, it's just the last page has to be rewritten.
You hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So my question would be, should we revise this to give permission for either you or the chairman to sign it when it's available?
I think,
So we're not waiting for the next meeting.
I
that
think
revised
the
contract-
sentiment of the board is clear that
The
you're going to
wording's
move in that
fine.
direction.
I don't
We
think we
could
need to
probably
do
have
that.
it executed at the next meeting.
yeah, I think the
Do we have to
wording's
wait
fine.
till the next meeting? Can we just have you just sign it when it's ready? Because if it's ready before that, let's just get it off our plate.
You could authorize the
The
chairman to sign it.
contract's ready, they just have to reprint the last page for our signatures because the address is wrong.
So I would advise that we give permission for the chairman to sign when ready, so it doesn't have to add to our next agenda.
I'll just make another motion after this.
Friendly amendment to your motion would be fine, too.
Yep.
I'll just make
Amend it.
Friendly amendment?
Yeah, that's fine.
We haven't voted yet, right? So,
No.
yeah.
No.
Yep.
We can amend it to authorize the chairman to sign the contract when ready.
Second.
Seconded by Joe.
Aye.
I guess we'll do a roll call. That's it, that's one. Matt?
We know where Mike stands. Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. That's unanimous. Thank you, gentlemen. Next, we're gonna go with the ambulance repair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the board is aware, our ambulance is out of commission. It has been towed to a local vendor that Newton has done business with in the past. The consensus is it needs a complete motor. However, that's only one opinion. We have since had it towed to another vendor, and we're awaiting their analysis and price. We don't have that information now, but it is a time-sensitive issue because we want it rebuilt or a new engine put in and rolling on the streets of Newton as soon as possible. And to that end, if the board would authorize me to sign an agreement with a not-to-exceed number of $27,000, which is the current number, and it comes in less, I can execute that on behalf of the board, and we can start the repairs right away.
So with that said, I'd like to make a motion to allow the interim town administrator to sign the contract not to exceed $27,000 for the ambulance repair.
Second.
Seconded by Mike.
Discussion.
There's a new woman there. I think her
okay.
name was
So, yeah.
Dana.
Just a curiosity, how long will it take to get it repaired at $27,000?
The first indication was second week in October. My understanding from informal communications with a town employee and the second vendor, it's the same time frame, mid-October.
Okay, so we're not going to be like waiting for parts and all
No.
that stuff and go to like, okay, that's what I wanted to make
No,
sure.
it'll be a couple
Thanks.
weeks.
Yeah, I think the good news with this, correct me if I'm wrong, is this is over-the-counter type parts. Like
Yeah,
this is,
because it's an
this
older
is-
one.
Exactly. This is not, a lot of times, and we're going to talk about this in a minute, when we're talking about fire apparatus, we're ordering, like
This is-
Diane's talking about, from, you know.
Right.
This is nothing special. It's the same motor that
Yeah.
people have in their trucks.
Right,
It's nothing special. I mean, it's a diesel motor, so obviously it's going to cost more money and it's more intensive. I would like to say that we are going to take this vote. Our other ambulance that we just approved a meeting ago, just so everybody understands, it's 2 years out, so we can't wait. I know we just bought another ambulance, but we don't have it. It's 2 years away, so we have to fix this one that we have now. So we have one. We don't have any right now. So just to clear that up in case anybody was wondering.
Yeah, and you guys came in later, but we should mention there was some discussion. And I always forget her name, but the resident.
I think she said it was Diane.
It doesn't sound right, but she brought up the fact too, which is a good point. We need to be cognizant of the fact that if we do intend to invest the money in to repair this one and make it a solid backup, we need to understand that pulling the parts out of the old one and putting them into the new one is kind of not on the table
Yep,
anymore.
exactly.
So, just so we're
Yeah.
all familiar.
It wasn't on
Yeah.
the table anyways, but yeah.
Yeah.
So, Chairman Matt, that, I was going to come up before,
Chairman
but,
Bob.
you know, Bob, all of you. That has completely been discussed, just so that you know. The new ambulance, to take the power stretcher, the striker stretcher that we have, and all the supplies out of the old one and put in the new one. They're doing that at no cost, and we still have the original equipment that was in the old ambulance, which is just not a fancy-wancy, you know, power stretcher that's going to make coffee. No, it doesn't make coffee. But we're going to put it back in, so we still have all the equipment. There will be no extra cost. We have all that, just so that you know.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Comes fully equipped is what
Right.
yeah. Good.
Have you voted yet?
No, not yet.
Nope.
Point of information, I am told that the fire department does have the funds available to make this repair within their default operating budget.
Perfect.
Okay. Very good. So with that being said,
Aye.
we're all here. We are all here. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That would be unanimous.
Just moving things along, Jim.
I hear ya. All right, next, engine one repair.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Engine 1 is on its way or is at Greenwood in North Attleboro, Massachusetts. The cost to repair it is $6,413.73. This can and should be considered a sole source provider. It's the original place where we purchased it, so they have all that they need to repair it in stock on the shelves. This cost includes the toll bill, a low air alarm sounding that won't build. The truck is having difficulty rebuilding air. Inspection of the Jake brakes has not taken place yet, so that may be an additional cost that we'll find out down the road. And the last one is the officer side steamer drain is clogged, and that needs to be, I'm pretty sure, blown out with a compressor or something like that.
Right.
And I would suggest, on the recommendation of the fire chief, that we keep it at Greenwoods and let them do the repairs for the amount of $6,413.73.
So with that said, I'd like to move to award the Engine 1 repair contract to Greenwood Emergency Vehicles out of North Attleboro, Mass. at a not-to-exceed price of $6,413.73, noting that the ambulance is a Greenwood product and this is being considered as a sole source provider.
Second.
Seconded by Mike. Any other discussion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
And that would be unanimous. All right.
Can I just ask what might be good for us to know? I'm sure all these equipment in town all have repair preventive maintenance schedules. Are they all up to date?
Took the words right out of my mouth.
So I will share with you that I have asked and have received a vehicle and equipment inventory. Part of the inventory includes identifying the age, the type of vehicle, the number of miles or hours, depending on whether it's a motor vehicle or a piece of equipment, and the anticipated replacement year. And we're in the process of putting that together. As far as preventative maintenance goes, I trust that the departments take care of the equipment and know when to have it done. So like an oil change, there's
Yep.
time involved.
I think we should validate.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, with all that being said, we're gonna go down to the RFPS's update. Household hazardous waste.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We have a bid that's been on the website for a month,
Yeah.
for about a month. And we have received one bid, one response to our RFP for the annual hazardous waste disposal. And the only bidder is North Ward Environmental Services.
I believe they're the same group that we've had the past couple of years.
Yes. How much?
North Ward.
North Ward, W-A-R-D.
The last time we had was Care Environmental.
I don't know if you know this, Diane, but you have to come in front of the microphone to be heard on the table.
Oh, does that feel good to say? Oh,
Doesn't it? I've been waiting to do that for years.
wow. Words to come back and haunt you.
So I believe that the last company that we had was called Care Environmental Services. Care, C-A-R-E, but they may have been sold, and
So
now that,
it's the same administrator, the girl that put it together, she moved over to North Ward.
okay, so it's the same Diane
Yes.
again? Yeah,
Yep.
okay. All right, so it's the same, basically the same company then?
Well, it's a different company, but it's the same.
Same people that ran it
Okay.
for us.
All right, so
She's familiar.
People are the same, company's different. Said people are the same, but the company is different.
okay, all right. So that's where, just a little history.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Explain that to me. Is this the same company that we've had the last couple of years?
No.
No.
Nope.
Different, okay.
Same people in that company left and went to this company, and that's,
Because the state called me last year, and I think I had to get some information. In fact, Diane provided it for me. There were some complaints, and they weren't getting rid of all the paint and whatever that they picked up from us. You know? And the other thing is that when they get down, and again, maybe I'm just repeating myself, but they did not have enough equipment to pick up the barrels of paint, and so in fact, they had to go find, they could rent one here. And I think that was part of the contract, whoever we give it to, that they have the right machines and so forth, okay? To pick up the paint.
so can we just make sure that we have, circle back with communication to them to make sure they get all the right equipment, volume, all that? Yeah.
Do we typically kind of confirm dates that are available before we, you know what I mean? So if we were to go back and say, yes, we'd like to pick you, but then they say we can't make it until April, you know what I mean? That
Yeah, I
might
don't-
change
They're anticipating the fall.
this fall.
Yes.
23.
We
Okay.
pick from the dates that they provide us.
Yeah, good, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I can share with you that although you have a breakdown sheet that has hard costs, which total $10,800, that includes a setup fee, labor, a minimum price, and transportation. And then below that is the per drum cost of the particular toxin that they're hauling away. Each has a different price, and so our charge will be dependent upon the volume that gets dropped off and they have to
Right.
haul away. But at a minimum, it would be $10,800. If you'd like that breakdown on the record, I could tell you that. The setup fee is $2,500. The labor is $1,000. The minimum price, before we do the gallon drums, is $6,000, and transportation is $1,300, and that totals to $10,800.
To come from the revolving account, right? That's where we pull it from? This is not
I think we moved it from the revolving account to the operating budget after the warrant passed.
after the warrant passed?
Right.
Yep, okay.
One of the things I see on here is motor oil, but we collect our own motor oil currently, so
Yep, so we won't have to worry
we
about
don't have
that.
to worry about that one.
And I can personally tell you, working for a hazardous waste company for 3 years, and the comparison in charges, these are very more palatable than a lot of some of the other companies that are out there. because they can get quite excessive. Did I hear somebody making a motion?
Well, I have a question before we do that. Are we also extending this to the other communities that bring in bulk?
Typically, we do. We do, don't we? No, it's Newton only.
This is just for the house, home
day.
residents.
Yeah.
Because we're not paying to haul their hazardous waste.
Okay.
Right. And again, if the board is inclined to have the chairman sign, that should be included in the motion.
Just a comment, and maybe you could investigate joining one of the other towns when they do their hazardous waste. It might be beneficial to us, I don't know. I've never investigated, but it might be something
Sure,
worth doing.
like if
Yeah,
Kingston
down the
wanted
road,
to do
yeah.
it, since they already.
There's a bunch of towns that do it all together,
Yeah.
and so you can, and it actually ends up you have multiple times during the year, not just one every other year.
Sure.
So just a thought.
Yeah, we should.
It's kind of tough because like I said, now if you end up going with a bigger town, Diane, then to try to figure out the cost to what the residents from one town are bringing in, and then if you say, well, we'll just split the cost, that could create a substantial increase for the cost of hazardous waste as proposed to just this town in paying for what they're gonna haul out of here. Because again, it's not cheap, and not only that, but you also have to remember with hazardous waste, it's cradle to grave. So even though we're hiring these people to remove this hazardous waste, we are still responsible for that waste until it gets to the end point where it gets destroyed. And that we in turn receive a piece of paper telling us and stating that. So if anything was to happen with the environmental purposes, that covers our backside. And if that does not happen, then we can get hauled into court and be held liable for anything that happens and takes place, which is important. So with that being said, do I hear a motion from somebody?
I'll move to award the bid for household hazardous waste agent North Ward Environmental Services and authorize the town administrator to sign on behalf of the select board.
Second.
Seconded by Michael. Any other discussion? There being none, all in favor? Aye. That's unanimous.
I know you probably haven't picked a date yet, but you ought to consider having the maximum number of, we had a couple people last year with 20, 30 cans of paint. And I don't know whether they were painters or not. Maybe they're taking it from their neighbors and so forth. I see other towns have, I think Newmarket has 5 gallons, paint cans. That's a big item, And I think we only had it for 3 hours last year, 9 to 12 or 8 or whatever. It really needs to be extended at least an hour or two more. There's that many people that didn't even get down there to get rid of their stuff, and I'm sure it probably ended on the side of the road or whatever. But those are the two things that I'm concerned about, and I'm sure Pete would do the same thing. Thank you. And when you pick a date, let us know, because people are asking us now.
Well, we already picked a date. They
Did pick
gave
a
us,
date.
they gave us some dates to
No.
pick
I
from,
don't think we
correct?
picked,
And in fact, here's the packet, Jack. If you would take
We
this,
have a choice.
and
of-
anything that you want to put a cap on as far as hazardous waste goes, where you said 5 cans of paint,
Yeah.
there's no limitation on this. If you want to establish
Well, I
limits,
didn't know if it was good for the town, and my concern is that somebody's just bringing 20 cans of paint in, just not his, he might be going down the street.
agreed. So if you get together with the manager there,
Okay.
and you want to put caps on these, that's administrative and has nothing to do with the contract.
Exactly.
Exactly, right.
So you keep that,
Okay.
and tell us what you want to put caps on, and we can run with that.
Okay, thank you.
And by the way, is you sure you don't want the chairman to sign on behalf of the board?
Although I agree with Jack, I have to say, with my conservation hat on, if people have it and they're allowed to bring it, I'd rather have it come if they can get in the line, which was horrific last time we did this, than have the paint cans end up in the conservation land. So that's just my take on limiting it could be a problem.
Yep.
Just my opinion.
I actually want to ask Diane a question.
I'm stumped on it.
You're not. So I'm guessing that you've done this quite a few times.
A few.
Is there always a minimum charge?
Yes, and sometimes we have
How
gone
often do
over.
we go over?
I think the last time we did go over a few $1,000s.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
She's the only one in this room that could probably answer that, so.
I know, definitely. I second that.
So just so you know, too, at one time we actually were under. So
So could I ask a question? What was the overage for, if you remember?
because what happens is everybody brings stuff in, right? So you're charged for what they bring in. So like you're charged by a gallon of paint gets dumped in. How many barrels does that fill? So that you get charged by the
By the
barrel.
barrel, okay.
So what they do is they set up a minimum, Joe, so that they're gonna at least make a profit
Right.
for bringing their equipment, their people, their trucks, whatever it is, and that no matter what happens, they're gonna walk away within that time period ahead of the game.
Yeah.
So now, like Diane said, once you start to produce over that and it cuts into their money that they're gonna make, that's why you get charged for all that extra, because then they maintain their,
It's usually they're pretty accurate because what we've done in the previous, and I'm sure it was done this time, is that we send them what was collected at the last household hazardous waste day. So they've got a general idea of how much.
They gauge it good.
Yeah, they have a good, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, warrant article 13, that was approved 519 to 109 in the amount of $30,000 for Household Hazardous Waste Day. And that was obviously overwhelmingly approved.
All right.
all right, so we're good. Next one is ground maintenance bid proposal.
Did we actually take I know we had a motion and a second. Did we take a
I
vote?
don't think we took the vote.
Yeah, we didn't take the vote.
We didn't take the vote.
We did take the
Oh,
vote.
we did? Okay.
It's been taken.
I might have left.
And now you're back?
And I'm back. Yeah, so we're all good, all good.
I think you were an aye.
I'm sure I was.
All right, Mr. Chairman, we received similar results. We had the ground maintenance bid proposal on our website for a month, and we received one bid from D&J Landscape LLC out of Plastown, New Hampshire, who is our current provider, who also provides the same service for the cemeteries in town through the trustees. The contract language is exact to what it was last year, which includes picking up sticks at the beach in the spring, picking up sand anywhere it appears on town grounds. And that has been confirmed again, because I know it was a concern from residents and some of the board members, that those two particular items were kind of glossed over a little bit last year, and it was not very well received. So we received an email today, Robin did, from Mr. Morell, who acknowledges that the town debris will be cleaned up during the spring cleanup, and sand and salt will be removed from all town properties during the spring cleanup. So that's been reaffirmed in an email in addition to the contract. So we would recommend that you award the bid to D&J Landscape out of Plastow.
There's one other thing I'd like to probably bring up, the fact that during the spring cleanup, they usually clean up the stuff that's on the shore,
The beach?
beach area. So would that be included within that? And I know last year, that was about 8 or 9 wheelbarrows.
I don't believe that you split a beach into where you sit and where you swim. I don't think that's cricket to anybody to do that. So I would say it's the entire beach area needs to be picked up.
Okay.
And
From here, I'll make sure it gets done, Joe.
why, you think you're going anywhere?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Depends if I have to sign that household hazardous waste.
So my question.
I'm going with you in the car, by
My
the way.
question, anything that, the sand and the salt on town property, is town roads considered town property?
It would not be part of this agreement. And the main road in town is a state road, unfortunately, 108.
No, but all the side roads are town.
Yeah, no,
I was trying.
I know, I know.
Can we just include my little circle up there? That'd be great. No.
You mean
But-
you
That would be a no.
or a circle?
One of the things I would point
You're on
out
the other
is
end, I'm
obviously
down
the
at the
slope of the
circle.
driveway and the lack of a berm or drainage. Even if they do a spring cleanup and pick up all the sand, the first rainstorm, we're gonna get a washout. It's gonna end up right back where it was. However, it will be considerably less if it's picked up first, and then we'll have to take care of it after storms.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure that the maintenance, facility tech can handle that.
So I have a question just to complicate matters. The scope of this does not include the cemeteries. The cemetery trustees do their
Same
own.
vendor as.
Right, so here's my question. We know that the cemetery trustees have been doing their own contract, which is another issue we have to discuss later, but do we gain any financial
Leverage.
well, not so much leverage, but can we get a
Economies of scale.
discount if we put them all together? So if you look on this, the locations are identified and the cemeteries aren't there, but if we all of a sudden turned around and said, hey, we want to add the cemeteries to the same contract, does that save us money? I tend to think probably it would not, but I'm just asking the question.
I believe that you're right. First of all, there's really no incentive because they're currently getting two checks,
Yeah,
one from the cemetery trustees, one from the town,
Yeah.
when services are rendered. However, we could consult with the trustees and see if they wanted to put things together. In the event that somebody other than the same person who's doing the job year after year decides to bid on it.
yeah.
So it's worth an inquiry next year, so I can speak to Mr. Landry about that.
Would putting both of them together get other vendors to the table?
I don't know. This is tough.
You want to keep them separate because they get billed separately
Yep.
and they come out of different funds. That's why they're separate.
Yep.
Okay?
Okay. I'm good.
So with that said, move to award the bid for ground maintenance to D&J Landscaping LLC and authorize the town administrator to sign on behalf of the select board.
Second. Seconded by Mike. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Done. All right, so now we're going to go down to action items, news, and old business. 275th anniversary celebration. Take it away, Joe.
Well, I'd just
Mr.
like
Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
to liaison.
The chair.
No committee's been formed yet, so there's no chair that's been voted on yet. In any event, currently we have 8 people that are volunteered for the committee.
Good.
And I'd like to throw that out to everybody. We probably need a host more people from every walk, every department, every commission and whatnot to make this successful. We're under a time crunch, so it'll be a lot of work in a short period of time to make this successful. So I'm putting the word out again. You know, contact the town hall, give us your number, and we'll be in contact with you.
So sometimes what helps too is if you grabbed a date on the calendar and said that was going to be.
I was going to say,
like
did
the
you pick
first.
a date,
We haven't yet, but I will do that.
Mr. Chairman?
Might do that.
Pick a date for that
There's
first
been no
meeting.
chairman elected yet.
Pick a date.
This is a significant milestone, and it would be helpful, I think, if you all just went on to Google and did 275th community birthday and see what other communities did to celebrate.
Sure.
You could figure out what falls within your parameters. It also may be worthy of a warrant article if you wanted to put 5,000 aside to do fireworks, for example.
Right.
Sure.
Depending on what the committee comes up with and recommends and asks the board for permission to do, you could place that on a warrant if you were so inclined.
Yeah, so you got to set a date sooner rather than later for the first meeting, and then you can go from there.
Yeah, if people knew I had to be there on October 10th or whatever and that they were available, they're more likely
Sure.
to come.
Or even start an early 50-50 raffle with no more tickets to exceed up to like a $5,000 pot to keep the chances of being able to win it. You know what I mean? And you could do that not once, but maybe twice. That would gain some significant money to go into the kitty to help pay for it too.
I
You know,
will,
get creative and outside the box.
I will caucus with those people who have volunteered so far, and we'll come up with a date.
There you go. That it? With that being said, we are going to, can I get a drum roll, please?
I'll help.
The Code of Ethics. I know all you people out there in TV land and the people here in our audience have been long waiting for this moment to hear about the revision of the Code of Ethics. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Selectman Burrow.
Yeah, I would just say that So just to kind of outline where we've been, so it's a revision to our Code of Ethics ordinance that was put into place in 1998. And the revisions were recommended by the attorney, town council. And then what happened was we put that out as a warrant article, which was changed in the deliberative to, did you just hand that to, you didn't, Jim, but you know, don't quote me on the thing, what was on the actual ballot we voted on.
I have it.
Yeah. If you want to read it, Joe, if you have it right
The
in front of you.
original, the warrant article as appeared on the warrant
On
was
the ballot, yeah.
on the ballot to see if the town will vote to instruct the Board of Selectmen to review and revise the 1998 ethics policy, to update the ethics policy in such a way as to allow the continued operation of town services.
And it was successful on the ballot. So what we've done over the last, and it's been 6 months since the vote, we've made a couple of changes to it to make some things clearer, and also to align with our purchasing policy, which is basically officials who have the ability to approve purchases above $5,000 would have to make a financial disclosure. If you look on in the ethics policy, we're using RSA 15A, New Hampshire RSA 15A as a best practice as suggested by town council. And that is basically, you know, in a nutshell, the Board of Selectmen would be the officials covered by this. We would need to disclose if we have any financial interests in what is coming before the board. I think anything else I need to put in there? Other than that,
The one other thing,
well, actually, before I forget the one thing I thought of, the question was asked, this is an ordinance, right? We are revising an ordinance. Don't we have to go back now to the warrant in March of 2024 that was proposed to town council? Town council's opinion is we do not, that we have clear direction. As of the ballot in March, we're revising an ordinance. So the ordinance did go to town meeting in 1998. We're making a revision to it, and we've actually offered it up on the warrant, but it was changed to what Joe just read. So my town council's belief is that as a board, we can now approve this revision when we're ready to. And I'm good with that. So,
and the one other thing that I am going to point out there, and it's been in there, that you cannot be a town employee and also serve as selectman of the town. Because we have had issues in the past about somebody being a town employee and then being in charge of that department as far as being a selectman. That is not good business practice. And we are not the only town that has that. Exeter also has that put in place. And there are also some other towns that I can't think of off the top of my head that we've checked into. So we're not the only town that has revised that portion too. So you cannot be not a full-time nor a part-time employee and serve as an elected official, selectman for the town. It's either or.
And I think it's a good time to remind people that selectmen do not have the power on their own to do things. It is the select board that has to make a vote, has to make a decision to empower. One person on this board cannot walk in and tell a department head what to do. That power is not there. People have thought that in the past, but that's not the case. That's why we're making some of these changes.
Yeah, is it open to discussion?
I would think so.
Yeah.
You know, I understand what you guys are trying to do, but if I look back what happened to the transfer station a year and a half ago during COVID, if we didn't have one of the selectmen that worked down there, we'd have closed. I'm not sure how the townspeople would have felt, to you people that are running the board, if we closed. You know how you should have saw it Sunday. I mean, it was incredible because we closed Saturday under circumstances, but, so I'm not sure what you're trying to do, if it's going after a past selectman, I don't know. I don't know what brought this up. But me as a resident, and what Mr. Melvin, who was a selectman, he didn't have any other interference with the town. He wasn't running business and so forth. So I think what you said, Bob, at the beginning was if he had some kind of relationship with other things in the town. But I don't know. I think we're going down the wrong track. If somebody can help out in different areas. I mean, you could say, look at Joe. He's trying to get people to work out on the anniversary. Nobody comes forward, to do these type of things. All board, look at the positions that are all open.
Jack, you're going down a path that you really don't want to go down, because I'm not going to get into the full discussion of really what transpired about all of that with that selectman going. So I'm not going there with
It's
that.
okay, no, I just
And
brought up his name
and the
because he
whole
was-
idea
Yeah.
is what I said, right? Is that this is bad business to have somebody serving, working for a department, and then serving as that department's boss, no matter what department it is. And I wasn't even
I'm
talking
listening,
about
you know.
anyone in particular.
Those are just my feelings.
Yeah.
Thank
Cool.
you.
And if I just might add, and you're entitled to
Yeah.
your opinion, you have a different view, right? Because we had the labor issue.
Well, he
down
helped
there.
us out tremendously,
Absolutely, no one's disputing that. But any policy that you have in place or any policy revision is always reactionary. And it's normally reactionary to something that's broken that has to be fixed. And I feel very confident here. I've been here a while. It was broken. This is going to fix stuff that's broken. It's not aimed at anybody specifically. It's going to fix something that's broken. This is going to fix something, 5, 10, 20 years down the road that the majority of people in town not sitting in these chairs don't see how it can be broken. So,
Thank you.
thanks. She's been up a lot. Is there a limit
I know.
to?
There should
He's
be
trying to
a-
get his steps in,
Right,
frequent
there should be
flyer
a
miles
limit
over
to
here.
this. So, I have a problem with 4.3A. I really don't understand what that is trying to do. Do you want me to read it for you?
Sure.
All right, let me turn it this way. Very good. So basically, it's incompatible employment. It says no member shall be active in a private employment with or render services for any private citizen, immediate family member, or household member having business contracts or transactions with any public body unless until the member publicly and fully discloses the nature and extent of his interest. Could you just give me an example? I mean, I've read this, and it's just not making sense to me.
Yeah. So, I have an example. I just put it together today based on on this, and this would be from Selectmen, whomever, right? It's just an example. And this would be a letter to the town in which the selectman says, I am listed as an officer in the following business, Evergreen Landscaping, 1345 Main Street, Newton, New Hampshire. Please note that my income does not qualify under the terms of this disclosure. However, I would like to disclose that if the board should decide to award a landscaping contract to this company, this would have a greater financial impact to me personally.
So that's what that means.
Yes.
4.3A.
Essentially, that's an example of
Yep.
how it would come into reality, right?
Okay,
So,
that's what I was
yeah.
looking for.
Yep.
Do you think you should make
one
that
we got.
appendices?
I'm sorry?
Appendix to the policies, just as an example?
Yeah, I mean, we could. The only thing is you can't have a fully inclusive example.
Got it.
You know what I mean? But yeah, we could
Yeah,
we could
that
put
makes
it out
sense.
there. Yeah.
So the other one was 6.1. Any resident of Newton may petition the Code of Ethics Committee to make a ruling on a situation which may or may not constitute a violation. I was always kind of curious, this is any resident. What if you're not a resident, like, say you go from, you're coming from Kingston, you go into the transfer station, you drop something off and you have a problem. Can that person still file a petition for a code of ethics or not?
What would the, so a code of ethics committee is, bound by the ethics policy.
Right.
So my thing would be if, to use your example, so you're saying somebody from Kingston or whatever,
Yeah.
they can still file a complaint. That complaint will probably, and you're talking about probably having an issue with an employee.
It could be, they feel that there's a violation of this, this ordinance.
Yeah, and then to me, what you've just described, that would be an issue with an employee that would go through the complaint process, and
HR process.
the board would deal with it anyway.
Right.
And the board is the ethics committee.
Right.
It might not rise to anything that's in this policy. It might just be that they're not doing
Yeah,
their job.
well, let's assume it does.
Yeah. Then the
So
board
can
can consider it. Yeah.
Can a non-resident file a petition with the ethics committee? I just threw the transfer station under the bus. Sorry, Jack.
Yeah. Well,
I was just curious because it's very specific, saying any resident. So a seasonal resident, can they file a petition?
does anybody on this board have an issue with entertaining any sort of a complaint from anybody who uses?
No, I was going to say, if anybody files a complaint and then it's looked at and it's sought to be in violation of the code of ethics, then it would have to be looked at and
Okay,
would have to be
so-
addressed.
So
But-
maybe
but
you want to change
look-
that word.
Look at it this way, though.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm talking about the ethics ordinance, I'm picturing somebody who's, a shareholder, so to speak. They pay taxes, they're a resident. And they find out that somebody on the board is kind of double dipping, or whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
That should go to the ethics committee.
Okay.
If I go, and we'll just keep throwing them under the bus, but if I go to the transfer station and somebody's rude to me,
That's an employee.
And
that's an
that's just a
employee,
regular.
Something different.
Right,
Exactly.
a complaint that would get filed.
All
But
right.
I don't think anybody from Kingston's going to say, hey,
Well, like my example, a seasonal resident,
yeah,
they.
Oh, you just said it.
Seasonal, they're
resident.
yeah,
Yep.
Okay,
yeah,
all right,
yeah.
thank you.
Thanks.
I'd like to see some language put in section 10 relative to the $5,000 limit, that would, as you said, it only applies if you had a financial interest. I'd like to see that put in there somewhere so it's defined.
Section 10.
Section
10's
10,
been
10.
deleted. You have an old one.
The one I have, right here.
I'm telling you, I'm looking at the newest one.
Oh, section 10, 11.1, you're
Yeah,
saying?
11.1.
Yeah.
Any appointed elected officials.
So how would that read, do you think?
But we talked about not having, having to recluse yourself if you have an interest in it. I'd like to see something like that put in there.
That's a disclosure.
Give me an example. And I have multiple questions. Since you're a lawyer, you're probably going to be answering this one. Give me an example of somebody's need to provide the town with a financial disclosure form.
Somebody's need, so it would just be the 5 of us. The
Where
Board of
does it say
Selectmen.
it's just us?
Doesn't
I guess
say
that's the
We are
part.
the, if you
can't
look at
see
if you look at the purchase policy, the only 5 people that can approve purchase orders in excess of $5,000
It's us.
are the 5 of us.
Okay.
Other than the
Yeah.
cemetery trustees,
That is basically
and perhaps
disputed.
maybe the library.
That's disputed at this point.
It shouldn't be disputed, it should be, if we're gonna do something,
It's
we
not,
should.
it's disputed from the standpoint of that they should be coming to us with those contracts.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, but they've never done that in the past.
And they've never done that in the past. These are the things you
That's
you
not a
live
good
and you
answer.
learn.
Part of the
Hate that
corrections
answer.
going on.
That's the
Never
way it's
done it in
always
the past.
been.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Because, the way I look at that, just a quick aside, is if something happened with any, and I think, with the cemetery, it'd be like landscaping, as we've talked about. If something happened, they're going to sue the town of Newton. They're not going to sue the cemetery trustees. And we're not going to be able to say, well, we
Yeah, it's
we
to
didn't
the
sign that
cemetery
contract.
trustees,
Go
right.
through that.
Do we need to put something in place then that says that, so that way
Well,
we're
it-
covered?
That's
Probably, not in this policy.
Yeah,
That's a
definitely,
different
it's a different
thing,
thing
yeah.
The
altogether.
purchasing
Yeah.
policy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess
I'll be willing to bet it's probably already in there, but
it just hasn't been enforced.
Yeah.
worst, or,
Right.
exactly, and it hasn't been made.
Sure.
The clarity hasn't been there.
Understandable.
Okay, I'm trying to follow along. So we went from 4.3 to 10. Let me go back to my highlights. I have a couple of questions. 4.4, I think you kind of explained that, but I am, now that you are talking about 10, the first thing I would say is we don't use purchase policies.
Where
So
are you?
I know you're,
Follow you. Where are you now?
I'm 10. I'm
10,
where Joe was. So my suggestion, until we change our current policy to include the word purchase policy, should those be replaced with requisitions, because that's what we do. I know at some point we talked about it would be great if we could go to a purchase order program, because it's actually in our payroll system. It would make it easier for our bookkeeper, but I find that as an issue. It says purchase policies and purchase orders, and we don't use purchase orders currently. That's number one.
I would
What do you think?
put a slash there that says requisitions.
Okay, that would
Just
make
in
me.
case we change the name of it later, we don't have to.
Okay, and there was something else, though, you touched on it before.
Someone keeping track of all these?
I'm writing them on this one.
Okay. So, and I think you kind of discussed 4.4. So no member whose salary is paid in whole or part from the town treasury shall appear in his official capacity on behalf of a private interest before any town board. So if somebody works for the town and they have a private interest that's going to reap the benefits of them working for the town, that's incompatible unless they disclose? Is that what I'm hearing earlier on we explained?
No, the way I see that is if I were to get up before the planning board and say, "Good evening, planning board. Selectman Matt Burrell here speaking for the Board of Selectmen. I'd like you to, approve this plan."
But you don't get a salary, planning board doesn't get a salary.
I
it's-
do get a salary.
You get stipends.
Oh, you do, that's right. Oh, I forgot, I did it so long, it was so wonderful.
Right.
Jeez, I think I got coffee every now and then, no.
Play money.
Okay,
Tell my wife that I get a salary for this. She
Vanessa?
doesn't believe it. Yeah, she doesn't believe it.
okay. So what if, what's another example? I should have written all my notes down. So if I owned a painting company,
Yep.
and I work for the town also,
Example Matt gave.
and something went out to bid, and my painting company that I don't run, but I'm an officer in the painting company, gets the job, would 4.4B mean you couldn't, I couldn't even respond to a bid, or does it just mean there's a disclosure that's required?
So
Four
basically
point
what
B.
it means is there's a disclosure required.
Okay,
It's up to the board
okay,
when approving
okay.
that bid to take that under consideration.
Okay, and I'm trying to use examples without being specific about people that are already in critical positions in town, so bear with me, my examples aren't that great.
It's not the examples,
Okay,
but think of it this way. I've tried
What?
to help some other people. People have asked me this question.
okay,
It doesn't prevent, it's not stopping. It's full disclosure.
Making us
Saying,
aware.
I have
okay,
somewhat skin in the game,
okay,
and I'm letting you, the through these meetings, I'm letting the board know, the public know that there is something in it for me, and I'm a town employee. It's like public companies, it's insider information, right?
okay,
It's just to make sure full disclosure, everybody knows what's going on, no double dipping, nobody's behind the
Yep.
back. This is just being very clean about what's going on.
So if I owned a garage that, fixed 18-wheelers and said, I'd like to fix the ambulance or a box truck, it would be a disclosure, and you would, as the,
We just take it into consideration.
have
It's
to
not like
Part of
denied.
the
say, oh,
decision-making.
Tricia, forget it, no. Right. Okay, Mike, what?
So it becomes part of the decision-making back here.
Okay,
At this board level.
yep,
Again, I think somebody said it's under consideration.
okay,
It's one piece of the puzzle that you're looking at.
okay,
Because let me give you the other side, because
Yes.
no one ever looks at the other side of that argument, right?
Okay.
Whereas, because again, this is reactionary, and despite what people believe, it's not reactionary to one situation, it's multiple situations.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody starts going around town and saying, see all the money he's making off the town?
Yep.
And no one's ever said anything. Well, no, they did, because they disclosed it. They did what they were supposed to do as the vendor to disclose that they had the interest. They put it out there, and this board still voted
Okay.
to take on that contract. So don't talk to me as the person with the financial interest. Go talk to that board,
Okay.
because they knew it, and they still did it. So
Could it be considered a precursor to recusal?
it could.
Could be.
I'll tell you, it's easy for me to say because I don't own a business that does business with the town. But the day I decide to sign up to run for selectman, to me would be the last day I would ever do business with the town. For 3 years, or whatever it is, I would say, I'm taking 3 years off because I don't want to have to recuse. I don't want anybody making any accusations one way or the other. I'll see you in 3 years. I'll go,
right,
you know what I mean? That would be me. It's easy for me to say. But like you said, it can be a decision maker. Do you want to recuse? Do you want to be encouraged to recuse?
Right.
Hopefully you make the decision yourself.
right. So when you were talking about in excess of $5,000, now I'll use me as an actual example now. As the emergency management director, if I were going out for something that we needed, maybe a new radio, I can't get a portable radio under $5,000. And I do what our purchase policy says. I, get multiple bids. Maybe we do sealed bids. And I come back with a recommendation to you, along with a requisition. I would have to fill out a financial statement, even though
You're
I'm.
not approving
We're
it.
deciding.
You're not
You're
approving it.
deciding.
If you were
Okay.
buying the radio
Okay.
from me,
Okay,
then I would have to fill it out.
okay.
Not you.
Not me.
It's
Right.
just us because we're the ones approving it. So if
Okay.
I own a radio company and you were
Okay.
like, I'm buying the radio from Dan's company, well, then I would have to fill out an FDIC form.
All right, that's a little clearer.
And the other thing to that is if you were putting the rec to us to approve,
Yes,
but somehow you have financial interests in said company that you're
I'd have
recommending,
to, yes,
that should be disclosed
Yes.
that I have, I don't need to know all the financials, you just need to say, hey, disclosing, I have interests there, just so it's clear.
okay,
Son works
Some
for
type
this
of
company.
money is going to be made by me or my immediate family.
okay. And I think my last question is somewhere on here, and I forget what page. So the Board of the Selectmen are the Ethics Committee. Should there be other people too, other than the Board of Selectmen? I know it should probably be an odd number, but it seems, it's kind of like the school board. In order to be on the budget committee, you can't also be on the school board at the same time. Should there be another influx of a couple of other people that are not selectmen? Maybe 8 people now instead of 5 people. It was just a thought, and if you got this from somewhere else and that's what everyone does, well then, I guess that's my answer, but I wanted to throw that out there.
So the answer is that other towns have ethics committees.
Okay.
They're standalone committees. But that's part of their town. Mary Jo can correct me on this. Their ordinance or charter.
Yes.
Charter is the word I'm looking
Okay.
for. It's in the town charter.
Okay.
So for us to do that someday, if we want to, we certainly could do that.
Okay.
However, that's a whole
Okay.
another bailiwick where towns, I think Atkinson is the closest one. They have a-
Plastow.
Plastow too. So
Okay.
that's,
Elected.
that's on the ballot in
Yep.
every March. Do you want to vote for Trish to be on the ethics committee?
Okay.
And so the Board of Selectmen are not in Plastow. Atkinson, the Code of Ethics Committee. It's just that with our town charter, we don't have that option. We could do it someday, but this is reflective of what most towns of our size would do. They would, the selectmen wear many hats. This is one of
Yep.
them. So,
Okay. I think that's it.
awesome.
That it,
Exactly.
Thank you, Trish.
For the record, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I've only been here for a short time. I've not seen anything that comes close to impinging on what you're suggesting right now, and I don't see any reason why in the future it will be exercised very often.
Yeah.
That's my observation.
Matt, how many code of ethics violation emails in 10 years have you dealt with?
3, 4.
What do you
Well,
think?
she is still here. I was going to
know.
ask
What do
her.
you think, Diane? Exactly. So I would.
But you
I
have
would
had
answer, We've had some.
A handful,
I would say less than a handful.
Sure.
Whatever a handful
Okay.
is. But they've all been non-public in nature.
obviously,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. But it's yeah. Right. Yeah.
this is why Plastow can't even get people to be on that board.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, there's like one person on the board right now.
Yeah, it's like, if you're internal audit in a company, nobody wants to be internal audit because
Yeah.
they don't get invited to the barbecues.
Yeah.
Does anybody want to make to accept the revised revision?
I still would like to see section 10.1.1 just clarified a bit.
Which one? Say that again. 10 what?
Section 10, I'd like to see after the in excess of $5,000 shall complete a financial interest disclosure form, FIDF, only if it affects their financial position.
What does that mean?
That's the
Yeah, but
whole
that-
idea
that's
of
the
filling
idea.
it out, Joe.
Well, is that what that implies?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
With
I'm
language
not a
earlier.
lawyer. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know the lawyer.
No, I mean with language earlier, that's what
In
it
it,
says.
right.
Yeah. It defines a financial interest, yeah.
A quick question. So Joe just brought up something, or somebody. So the revised Code of Ethics, is that what was on the website and that I printed out, or are there things that you changed that we don't have in front of us? I'm just
No,
curious.
what you saw is the revised.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
But if you got it within the last 2 months,
I got it yesterday.
yeah,
Yeah.
so,
I'm good.
So,
Yep.
except
Yep.
for yours, which I wrote down, which was the slash requisitions.
Okay,
So I've added that so that we have note
Okay.
of that to go
I think
forward.
that's wise. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So you're voting on this, not as presented, but as presented and amended, this is flat.
Yep.
Yep,
Good point.
Right.
And I think that you can move forward
yep.
with this today.
I'm gonna make a motion then, let me just,
That's where that is in case you need to reference it.
yeah, oh, no, I tried.
You almost got there, like it was
almost got-
close.
This is just technical. So you're
Yeah.
going to make that motion. I noticed on the
The date,
8 till 11, so do you want to include that in your revision? So it should be 8 and 9, I guess, it seemed like.
what-
So it seemed like it jumped down. Let me check it again. Hold on. Maybe.
Section 2, 3,
No, go to the end, like section 10.
5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay, so there's
9,
9, 10. So you see it says section 10, financial interest, but it starts with 11.1.
Yeah.
Do you want to just fix that maybe?
yeah, clean that up,
Yep, that's all.
catch.
Okay?
I'm going to note that
That
on
was-
this for you as well.
We've always put things in here to test Diane, so she passed again.
All
So,
right, Matt.
We're just
So-
trying to make sure during retirement you're staying sharp.
exactly. So I am going to make a motion to approve the revisions to the Newton Code of Ethics ordinance as drafted, or as drafted and amended this evening, to be effective, let's say, September 20th to 2023.
Yep.
Second?
Seconded by Mike. All in favor?
Aye.
You said aye, John?
Yep.
All right, I didn't hear you. That's unanimous.
All right.
So moved.
Thank you to everybody for the
Coming and
efforts on
giving
this.
us your input, appreciated. All right, so that sums up today's meeting. Do I have a motion to go into
Mr. White, do we want to entertain?
Did you have something that you wanted to talk to us about?
If this results in something that requires contemplation or lengthy discussion, Mr. Chairman, the person who sets the agenda could make this an agenda item for the next meeting.
Yep.
So that everybody feels they have an opportunity to be there.
Sure.
I think I'd like to see that.
State your case.
State my case.
State your name.
My
Say your
name is
name.
Robert White.
Yeah.
I want to know if my issue about my property got ironed out.
Okay, so here's the deal. We got the new revisions finally
Yeah.
because somebody did enough digging and actually was able to come up with the correct, where you actually do abut directly to that, the peanut trail, because before what we had depicted, you didn't, and that was the main cause of the issue. So what we have done is, we have sent what you have given to us, because we want to make sure that we do right by you and take care of anything that's there. We have taken all that information and we have given it to our lawyers for the town so that they can take a look at it, and then they can then tell us what it is and how it is we need to proceed to be able to help address you and your problem and do it correctly so that it'll be done for you.
Thank you.
Okay?
Yes.
So it's gonna take a week or so or whatever, because the lawyers are looking into it, but we are addressing it, and we want to thank you because of all the work that those people did to get the correct information to us.
Was that my attorney?
Yes.
They did some
Be-
work.
I mean, because that's everything. We can't make proper decisions without proper information,
got
and
it.
now we have all the proper information before us.
Okay, so a couple of weeks are going to end it.
Hopefully, we're waiting for our attorneys, and we'll put it on the next meeting.
I brought my mother because it's been like 10 years and she's been wondering why it's been taking so long.
So, Mr. White, what we'll do is we're gonna put it on the agenda for the next meeting, if you make sure you come, and then we'll see what, hopefully we can get an answer from our town council by then.
Thank you.
Okay? Bless you.
Bless you.
Thanks.
No problem.
Let us know if you need a ride here next time.
I got it for you.
We can have somebody give you a ride over.
Thank
you.
you for coming.
Thanks.
But we are looking into it.
Yep.
Like I said, proper information makes a huge difference.
Yep.
Yep.
And it's all spelt right out with what that LLC gentleman had provided for us. When he did the deed background and he went that far back.
Still? No? Okay.
Yes,
Bob,
thank you.
there will be no
Thank you for coming,
non-public
Bob.
tonight. Jim just told me.
Okay.
Non-public,
Yeah.
so you know.
So remember, what's today? Hold on, I have to double check. Some of these months have 5 days, so 19. Yes.
I would hope so.
So October 3rd. October 3rd, okay?
He needs to update his iOS on his phone, because that's
Yeah.
the old software.
Walk safely.
Hey.
Oh,
Hey.
Goodness.
Back on track. Yeah.
Quick, before Diane gets to the microphone again, we have to.
With that being said, we are totally adjourning. There will be no non-public this evening. So thank you all for coming. Thank you for participating. Participation helps us to be able to do a better job.
Stopped.
Thanks,
Thank you to
everybody.
everybody out there.
See you next time.
God bless.
Teacher's contract for 3 years.
I have no control over that,
When
though.
I'm just talking about, we're talking about. Remember that increase,
Oh, I know that. Yeah, I know that. But I have zero control over that.